Hello, my name's Michelle. I'm the owner and founder of Eternal Being. Today's podcast is going to be with Sam today, and we're going to be talking about autism, both very close to our heart, but more so for Sam and her journey of autism and how it can be misdiagnosed and gut health. Across to Sam. So, what is autism, Sam, to you?
So it's my entire way of thinking, the whole way my brain works. It factors into everything I do. It's had an impact on my entire life, mainly due to the fact that I was diagnosed so late in life. So I wasn't able to figure out why things are so different for me.
How was it misdiagnosed for you when you were a child?
It was misdiagnosed because the first diagnosis I ever had was at the age of 7. I was diagnosed with anxiety. My mum got involved with specialists because she realised that a lot of my behaviour wasn't the regular sort of behaviour.
In what way?
So I was very particular about things. I was extremely sensitive to sound, to textures of my clothes. I never socialised easily. I would have sort of like, every child has sort of like meltdowns, but mine was sort of like when these loud sounds would happen or my seam wasn't sitting right on my sock. I would just have a complete meltdown. It would be like the end of the world, kind of, and I'd rip my clothes off trying to make them comfortable. I was just extremely sensitive, and she knew from, she'd been around children all her life, she had got a daughter already, she realised this behaviour wasn't typical. So that's when she started to seek help, because she actually suspected that I was on the spectrum. So she took me to a specialist who just diagnosed me with anxiety, which in itself didn't really make sense because I had no trauma that would result in anxiety. And as you know, anxiety doesn't just appear from nowhere. So there's obviously something under the surface that was causing me this anxiety, but it was never looked into. It was just sort of, she's got anxiety and off you go. Carry on with your life.
How long did that go on for? How long did your family and yourself, obviously, having that diagnosis of anxiety compared to autism? And I know this personally with myself, we've talked about this before. As you know, I call it superpowers because we have superpowers, but how that affects you mentally and physically, being given a diagnosis that's so wrong. So how long were you knowing that you basically got this anxiety into teenage and into adulthood? How did you know?
Yeah, well, it went on, I think when I was about 12, I was re-referred to specialists because things were still not right. I was still having meltdowns, and even now I was questioning myself. I was like, this isn't normal to be at this age and still be breaking down the way I was, sort of thing. I was sort of like wondering if my friends still do this when they're at home. I thought, probably not.
Was this through the school?
Yeah. Well, no. So this was again, my mum was still like, something's not right. And she went to sort of like CAMS, Childhood and Adolescent Mental Health Services. And I was seen by 2 specialists there. They sort of did some tests on me. I was just sort of like speaking to them. And I have a letter that says, I'm not on the spectrum, I don't have autism, but my mum is over anxious and she's saying I've got these problems that I haven't got. So they put all the blame on her. and said that they weren't willing to give me any therapy or any help, and they discharged me. So then that went on up until I did GCSEs, so I would have been 15.
Yeah.
And that was when there was clearly something that needed resolving, because I sort of did my GCSEs, and then when the change came to move in school, deciding what I want to do with my life, I had a massive breakdown. Went on to be diagnosed with depression, social anxiety. It turned into an eating disorder. And the whole time the underlying issue was I didn't have the support or the understanding that I needed.
So now, okay, because you've gone through a hell of a lot, and I can empathise with a lot of that, especially myself, regards to, for me it was before my GCSEs, and my dad paying for private tutoring, and my teacher picking it up automatically because she was on the spectrum. So and having those private tests done, and that was the start for you, but you had it a lot later than me, and it was after your GCSE. So I you know, to go through that and then be left isolated with nowhere to go, with a combination of drugs as well, concoctions that doctors want you to, you know, sometimes take, and then you don't know who you truly are at all. So what was that big leap for you, Sam, to seek out more help and more guidance and more understanding of yourself? Because, you know, you were in a dark place then.
Yeah. I mean, it's really only the past year or so that leap has been taken. I mean, I was officially diagnosed with autism when I was 18. But even then, when I was diagnosed, the lady said to me, "Oh, you're on the lower end of the spectrum and your autism doesn't affect you," which in itself was wrong for her to say that.
High functioning is the word.
Yeah, just because
high functioning.
Yeah, which is where the masking comes in. Just because we get on with life trying to fit in with everybody else, it's still all chaos inside, and you can feel that things they don't feel right or comfortable.
Even today, we can both laugh about this, and the team will know this, that when I come in, I have to have everything a certain way in certain organisation, and you find your own masks and your own coping strategies, and we've talked through today and who was going to be in the room and what was going to be around you, and these are all things that people don't see.
Yes,
they don't see to prepare yourself.
Yeah, and then even sometimes I'm trying to tell myself, stop asking questions because they're going to get annoyed with you. But for me, it's just that I need to know exactly what's happening all the time.
You're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
That's your superpower. That's awesome. There needs to be more of us out there, and there is. There's so many people out there that are they're not aware of this, or the entrepreneurs, for instance, and they've got these amazing superpowers that, you know, are classed as superhuman in some ways, that they're able to do A, B, C, D, D.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
The point I'm trying to make is you are no different to that. And it doesn't matter how old you are, you've got that ability to do anything you want to do now, Sam, okay? Anything you want to. You just now realise that actually I have a certain way of doing things that works for me. But I can work around things as long as I'm aware of what's about to come ahead of me.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about workplace.
Right, yeah.
And why workplace can be an amazing thing, but also it can be one of the worst places. And again, from experience, I'm aware of this. And bullying and alienizing people out when you are got superpowers, you know. Not everybody can understand the way that we act at times. It looks like we're being difficult.
Yes.
And give me some examples and stuff from the jobs that you've done and so on.
Yeah, so from my experience, I mean, all the problems there's so many different settings that I've attempted to try and work in, and it always comes down to the same problem. It's not particularly having much structure, unpredictability. So sort of like if you're in a shopping environment, you don't know who you're going to face, sort of customers. Not having a clear and direct task. It's sort of always a general, oh, do a bit of this and a bit of that, and it just feels like I don't know what to do with myself. It feels overwhelming. I think if I was told, you know, right, you're going to come in, you're going to sit here and you're going to get on with this task all morning, then when you finish that, either come to me and ask for the next thing, or you're going to do it, and people could lay out exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, how I'm doing it. That'd be fine, that'd be perfect for me. But it's the whole thing, I always get told I don't use my initiative. And it's not that I don't use it, I just need more precise and direct information about what I need to do. I need to know what's expected of me to be able to get on with it.
And that in itself, when you're working in a shop, for instance, that can be really difficult, because you can have an awkward customer and you could have a combination of different issues and different problems all in one go. And it's not that you're not able to do it, it's just because your body just becomes so overwhelmed from that experience. If you were familiar with the person, then that might be a little bit easier. So it's understanding certain situations that are going to be better for you. But also what I will say is as well, because we are slightly different in our spectrums, is I worked in a pharmacy. I do anything but go on the till. Didn't dare go near the till, didn't dare go near any of the customers. I'd rather do the precise things that I was told to do, whether that was cleaning, stocking shelves, keeping it all organised, making it all look beautiful. But it came with time, and it came with time of knowing my work colleagues to gain that confidence. So that's where our masks come in as well, which then can be misinterpreting that you're not on the spectrum, you're not this, you're not that. I remember a report coming back from this particular person who was my boss saying, oh, Michelle works really hard, but I can't see her going on to do further things. Well, that's a little bit different now then, isn't it? Proving them all wrong. And that's why working for yourself and having the amazing team and an amazing environment around you is so critical. Like I've said to you, you've got so many talents. I mean, she's gorgeous. Look at her. She's gorgeous, you know. She does so many things. Her art, Sam's art's out this world. She makes jewellery, tattoos, you name it, as you can see on her. So there's many ways, and that's the thing. You can incorporate. I got told that I couldn't do any of the things that I wanted to do. And unfortunately, we are very stubborn, and we find a way of doing it. And that's what we do. So sometimes avoidance is one of the things that we do as well, and that's running away. So explain what that means to you, Sam. That you're in a difficult situation, and it is like you've been frozen, you've been in shock.
Yeah, it is. It feels sort of like everything just shuts down. It's just a really overwhelming sort of. If you have a bad experience, you just feel like you can never ever face that again. You never want to be put in that same situation, because you're just going to relive what you experienced the first time.
And what I find that's helped me is clinical hypnotherapy massively, to get in our bodies to when we are stressed, to have certain tools in our tool bag to be able to get us through everyday situations. You know, we're born differently, end of. You know, our blueprint is completely different. But also understanding that people's energy absorbs.
which is something as well, I think, because a lot of people think that autistic people have no empathy
It's completely
or don't
opposite.
feel things. But I think what it is a lot of people on the spectrum tend to feel things so intensely,
Yes,
and pick up on other people's emotions so easily that they don't know how to handle it, and it comes across as if we're being maybe a bit blunt, but it's definitely not. It's just an overwhelming, we feel everything.
Yeah. And there's so many different dimensions with autism.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's I understand why it's so hard for people to sometimes understand, looking at yourself and looking at me, to somebody that struggles to talk.
Yeah,
you know, there's so many different elements and different layers there, but just get to know.
Just get to know as well. Because everyone experiences it so differently, and some people on the spectrum can do things that other people can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so hard to understand as well, because you might think, oh, well, I know this autistic person that can do that, so why can't you do that? And it's just so different for everybody.
And that's the thing, you know, taken away from autism, but just anybody out there, is that coming away from autism, but just everybody, if we rejoiced in what people are good at instead of looking at what people aren't great at.
Embrace everyone's individuality. Yes, definitely.
Because you'd have an amazing workforce.
Oh yeah, 100%, yeah.
And you think what you could achieve with that. That's just the most powerful thing. What made you come to Eternal Being? What made you come to us? What was the reasons why?
I was experiencing extremely bad gut health, and I had sort of tried a lot of things. I'd tried diets to try and detoxify myself. I'd been drinking detox tea, which I was
the favourite one.
It's no good.
Yeah.
And things that had been working, like the detox tea, had stopped for obvious reasons. And I was just looking for something else. Like, I was extremely uncomfortable, extremely bloated all the time. I constantly felt sick, and I just needed anything to help. So I was sort of just like Googling things to help, and that's when I came across Eternal Being. And initially that was it. I was just coming because I was like, I need to try something for my gut. And I saw this hydrotherapy, and I was like, I'll give it a go. And then obviously when I came and I met you, it felt like I just sort of fell into your hands almost, because I came just for my gut, and you ended up sort of helping me on so many other levels with mental health and well-being.
And to where you were then, to where you are now, it's wow. From there to there.
Yes, definitely.
You know. And you're now understanding what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I say, meeting you definitely helped me feel understood, and seen and listened to, and
makes me emotional.
And when sort of I have all these voices from the outside telling me what I can't do and what I should be doing.
It's all rubbish.
Yeah, and they get in my head. I come to you, and you just remind me who I am, and that I don't have to conform to this life that they want me to have, and I can use my strengths.
And power through.
Yeah.
Power through. And shine.
Yes, yeah.
You know? So Sam, tell us about superpowers and what that might look like to an outside person as such.
So superpowers are sort of like skills and qualities that...
like the X-Men, no, really joking.
That autistic people seem to experience beyond the normal range of an average neurotypical brain. So sort of things like...
Taking in information?
Taking in information. Their sight, they tend to be able to read smaller text better.
I didn't actually know that
didn't
one.
You?
No, I didn't. That actually makes sense to me now. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that at all.
We can see more detail in the distance as well, up to about 20 feet away. They can see things that somebody else might not be able to notice.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Wow, I've learned another new thing today. I thought that was just normal.
I know, yeah. When I was learning about these, I felt the same. I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. But things like pattern recognition. So autistic people tend to have more activity in the temporal and optical regions of the brain than regular people. So facial recognition as well.
Yeah.
They tend to be better at.
It's a bit like my son, Biana. He, when he had his assessments done, which we fought for, I could feel the energy of him going into the room, and when I wasn't with him, and they were saying, oh, you come back in, in a couple of hours' time, and I said to my husband, well, it won't be a couple of hours' time, it'll be in 4 hours' time. I was correct, it was actually 3.5, so I was nearly there. Anyway, walked in, and I knew that she didn't believe him. And B was like, just drop your guard, Michelle, drop your guard, because I'd got my shield round me. And I walked in there, and she sat us down, and she was lovely, she was really absolutely lovely, and she went, he's blown my mind away. When I first started to do the assessments on him, he was doing stuff, a boy of his age, just unbelievable, it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then we moved on to these, which weren't these normal patterns. So we moved on, and I could feel that I was losing him all of a sudden, and I went, yeah, totally. And then we moved on to his reading and so on, because it was patterns like you just mentioned a minute ago. And he just picks them up like that. And she went, then I could see it. And school is not fitted for him. So it's about embracing those superpowers, those super qualities that he has for him to go out there in that outside world, and different tools that we can assist us in helping us with those bits in our learning that can make us a little bit stronger, that we don't lose our confidence and our low self-esteem and all those horrible things that moves down into anxiety.
Yes.
And distance yourself and the rocking and the shaking and all the things that people don't see, that we hide away. So yeah, those superpowers. And when you said about the patterns, that brings some real raw things to me, and especially for my little boy. So yeah, no. But what else? Sorry, I went on a tangent there. But
it tend to be more detail orientated as well. So a good example of that is, say, picture a forest. A lot of people would just see, the forest, the trees, but an autistic person would see more like the details of the flowers and the butterflies and the insects.
Colours.
Yeah, the colours, which is actually another one. We tend to see colours more brightly.
Yes.
Than regular.
Again, it was the other week, and my husband said to me, what colour do you see? And I went, I see this. And he went, I see a completely different colour. I went, what? It's like completely different colour.
Yeah.
It's a different colour. I know that I have special glasses.
Yeah.
To stop my writing moving all over the place and reading moving all over the time. Mine are a mixture between orange and pink, so it looks like I've got purple glasses, as you see. And people think you're wearing them just to be trending. It's not. It's to help me. So that helps with light reflecting in and out. And the same Same for my son as well. He has green. They're like this sort of colour green, so they're really, really, really dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else is the superpowers and so on that you know about, Sam, that you'd pick up on for people?
Well, one I've noticed for myself is I tend to hoover up information. If I have an interest in something, then I can just learn facts and facts and facts about it effortlessly. I mean, the interest has got to be there, you know, sit me down to do maths or something, then I'm no good. But yeah, like if I'm interested in something, yeah, things just go straight in and straight in. And people always say to me, like, you're so smart. And to me, it's just like, well, it, like I say, it just tends to sink in effortlessly. I don't really know how I remember it.
It's like a computer program.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
Again, a computer program being generated and you're storing it all into your long-term memory.
Yeah.
And you're putting it into categories. But if there's a category out and missing, then it throws you off the whole of the journal.
Yeah.
So we have to know every detail, every single detail. Otherwise, we'll doubt our confidence on all the information that we've just been learned. We wouldn't jump from A to D without knowing what B and C is.
Yeah.
That was good for me even to say them 4 letters in a row then. Don't get me to do my alphabet. It changes every single time. But yeah, you know, I totally get that. You know, that when you're really passionate about something, you're just taking the information.
Yeah.
I know for myself though, I need to have lots of breaks, because I get mentally exhausted very, very, very quickly when you're storing everything into that long-term memory.
Yeah.
But again, some people are completely different. I don't know about
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah, for me, I think, like say if I find something that I'm really interested in, I don't want to draw myself away from it. I tend to get a bit lost in it, and I can spend hours, and before I know it, the day's gone by and I've just been fixated on this one thing. Yeah.
So Sam, we've discussed about masking, and masking is different for both of us in the way that we deal with things in life. We both have different coping strategies. So can you explain what masking means to you?
So masking for me, it's sort of hiding all my autistic traits to fit in to the environment that I find myself in. It's sort of mimicking conversations, mimicking small talk that I've heard maybe neurotypical people have. I'll sort of remember a script and copy it. It's hiding anything that is not normal to protect myself from any sort of mickey taking, bullying that I've experienced in school. You sort of learn these traits and you learn how to hide them from the outside world, which then it's draining and it's exhausting.
The way that I deal with masking is in a very different way, and I think that's because personally I've had to face it head on, completely head on, and put myself into situations that are so uncomfortable. I'll give an example of this. I remember the first time I taught teaching, when I was an instructor, I got on the stage and then I ran off and cried. And I remember my teacher at the YMCA coming to talk to me, and there was another autistic girl on our group, and we were very, very, very different to each other in our spectrums. And I remember Kelly coming over to me, beautiful, beautiful lady, and a pure inspiration to me. And she was a light bulb moment. She was a magic of light. So I'm filling up. And she believed in me. Yeah, she believed in me. And that was the first start. that was the first start for me, to prove that I could do anything in this world. I was able to push mountains. My grades and the hard work that I put in to my training and qualification, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my results. And that was the first time in my life that I had belief in myself. And I knew from that day on that I was a runner. Definitely a runner. If I wasn't able to, if I was put in my uncomfortable zone, instead of facing it on heads on and overcoming that fear, I would run. And I've been running the whole of my life. And I am still a runner. I'm aware of that. And that's why I have to be megally organised, megally understand every factor, what comes of going to do something. For instance, an interview, a podcast, all of those things. But when I'm familiar and comfortable with the people around me, that's life-changing, you know.
Yeah.
Is a magical thing. Sam, I know that when you first came to me, you had a completely different name to what you have now. Do you want to explain the reasons why? Because it took me a while to because I got myself into a routine. It was hard enough for me to remember details and examples of people and content of people, but names is just one of those blocks for me. But yeah, go on, Sam, explain.
Yeah, so my birth name, the name on my birth certificate is Samantha. That's the name my parents gave me. When I was about 17, and I was at my absolute worst with my mental health, my anxiety, my depression, my eating disorder, I still hadn't got a diagnosis of autism at this point, and I was sort of trying to come up with solutions to just stick a plaster on all my issues and hope to heal myself, sort of thing. And my name was always one of them, because I have a lisp, a bit of a lisp. I think I've grown out of it a bit. It's not as bad as it used to be. I couldn't say my name properly. Sam was hard for me to say, and I had a lot of people misunderstanding what I was saying. And obviously no amount of me spelling it or saying it again fixed the problem because the lisp was still there. Yeah. So people misunderstood my name. And I was convinced that, okay, if I change my name, I won't have anxiety anymore. In my brain, that's how it worked. I was like, I have anxiety because I can't introduce myself to people. I'll change my name, it'll fix the problem. So I changed my name to Monami, which is, obviously I can pronounce that because it's not got any S's in it. But it was still a name. People had to ask me again, what was that? Sort of thing. But it obviously didn't work because there was a lot deeper issues than just changing my name. And then sort of last year, it just felt more like now I'm becoming more accepting of myself.
Being free.
Yeah.
Being
It just
free
felt
and
like
being you.
That name sort of related to more of a bad time because I was in such a bad headspace when I changed it. So I decided to go back to my birth name.
And also, we laugh about it because I'll say things and people haven't got a clue what I'm saying sometimes, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, you know. If you say it wrong, it's no big deal. You say it again, you know, and if they still don't get it, you just got to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
You got to have a giggle.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
we have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
You know, so it shows how far it can go with having to change your name because you can't even say your name.
Yeah.
Like my son's name, Biana. I kept him when he was born. We chose the name. It took me 8 weeks. 8 weeks. 8 weeks to be able to. Even my mum, still from this day, he gets called all sorts. Bless him. And people think he's a girl when he's a boy, but it means bear. And that was the reason why we chose that. It's the same with Chione. It took me ages. Vigos I got completely.
Yeah.
I know how hard it is to pronounce certain words and have to really think about the rolling of the tongue and so on. And it's really interesting you say that. I don't know if you've ever tried this, Sam, but I know my husband got it to do it with me. When I'm struggling to pronounce words, I'll put earphones on to block my outside noise away from me, and then he puts the computer on to record me to hear what I do. And if I just read it, I can sometimes, it just comes off.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to work, but it did, because I blocked all my outside noise out, which is astonishing. You know, it's the same that we talk about, the overstimuli of everything around you. You can put these faces on that you're this performer as such, you know, you react this role that you're meant to be. And when you actually realise you don't have to be that anymore, you can truly be yourself in certain environments. You'll take yourself out of that environment now, where before I would just throw myself into situations with the wrong people, and it wasn't good for me mental health wise. And you learn that over time. So it's fascinating. Thank you for sharing. So going on to the future for you, where do you see it for you? So
I see myself, I want to be self-employed on a self-employed basis. That's definitely what's going to work best for me. I want to put my creativity into that, make things, create things, sell the things that I make, whether it's prints, tote bags, jewellery. I want to study photography as well and do that for myself.
In a perfect place here today. We introduce you to Sam.
So that's definitely what I see for my future. I want to, aside from sort of being employed, I want to explore the world as well. I want to learn things, experience new cultures.
Where do you want to go?
Australia's always been, for years, I think I have friends in Australia which I always wanted to go out and visit them. Also places like Thailand, and the Philippines, or them sort of countries.
Exciting future ahead then. Let's get out this lockdown.
Yes. Definitely.
So thank you for today.
Thank you.
If you were to give any advice out there that people are struggling, what would you give those people out there to guide them, to point them in the right direction?
Definitely just seek the help. Don't be scared to seek help. Find people that resonate with you more, and that see the light in you. Like, I think that's definitely the main important thing to do.
And how important is the gut?
Extremely important. I mean, my gut knows something's wrong before I know something's wrong. Gut health is extremely important, because it affects your mental health as well, definitely. If your gut's off, then you feel down.
Which then affects your behaviour, affects your attitude, affects your environment.
Affects your whole life, really, which is what I've learned through Eternal Being,
And now you've got this amazing bright future ahead of you, which is astonishing. And it's a beautiful day today as well, when we came here as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for today. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching our podcast. And if you want to watch more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or why not book a Zoom consultation with us? It'll be our pleasure to help you.